Artistic Gamer 7, and I'm here with a speed build, but this speed build is a little special because it's actually a part of another collab that I'm sort of have started with a few other simmers as well. It's there's 8 of us all together, so there's 7 others members other than me. Basically, again, I did the outer shell of the place and then a few things here and there like the outsides, and I did have 2 rooms also that I did inside, but they wasn't like living quarters. So, but basically when I first came up with this idea, it was partially from watching, well, not only like going through the tour video myself of the last big collab of the Windenburg Apartments collab, as we ended up calling it, but also when I was watching, Jess the Jester, do her, like little go through of the tour and stuff like that. Both me and her, like, were like trying to guess the Sims that lived in that apartment, so I sort of took that and did a little twist on it. So basically the members who are in this collab are gonna actually see a set of Sims or Sim, and based off of that Sim they have to decide how their apartment would be. So basically we're using the hashtag #DesignMySimsApartment because you would be designing what you think that apartment would look like or what apartment would fit that Sim or Sims. So that is basically the sort of change on this one. Originally I actually was going to just make a few random Sims here and there, but then one of the members who is a part of the group, Blossomi, I think she's got an E at the end, I at the end of Blossom, so I think that's how you would say it. When I was talking to just her, she suggested maybe having them actually create the Sims and then swap them around. And so basically one of them would create a Sim, and then someone else would create the apartment for that Sim. So that is how it ended up being. So they all have created Sims. They should be all up on the gallery at this point currently. Keyword they should be. Once this video goes live, I will be having all their information down in the description below, so you can go see their origin IDs and such. As for the rules, basically with the Sims, the rules were a lot more relaxed because technically all they needed to do was see pictures of the Sims. They didn't necessarily actually need to physically move the Sims in anywhere. So I did allow them to use CC if they really wanted to, which I think most of them has used CC to create their Sims and have the others base rooms off of them. But the rooms themselves and the build itself should not have any CC in the build, so that it would be easier to share amongst everyone and also put it all back together. Because I will be putting it back together like I did with the old one and seeing how it all comes together, how it all looks, and how these people took these Sims and perceived their apartment to look like and how they designed it. So that is, again, I think it's going to be another interesting outcome to see, just because there's many different skill sets in it and different people doing it, and how you interpret it also would be different. And just honestly, someone could probably take the same Sims and still give them different looking apartments. So it's sort of going to be very interesting to see how their take on it is. I would definitely be interested to see the thoughts of the people who made the Sims, to see their Sims apartment that someone else designed. I'm sort of curious to get their feedback on that, so when they create their Sims and someone else takes over their Sims and designs an apartment for them, I'd definitely be interested in seeing what they think of how the apartment itself turned out and how they think it is fitting for their Sim or not. So that's one thing I'm actually very interested in seeing that comes from this collab. Particularly when this video goes out, I will be going on my vacation. When this video is being posted, that's the day I'm leaving. So, and they're gonna have the build from that day, and they're gonna start building. So sometime after the 15th, the builds are hopefully all gonna be done, and I can start putting them together and have them have the end result up on my channel to let y'all all see how the end result is. I am going to quickly run down just the names of the people who are in this build. Like I said, all their stuff will be down in the description below. Should be their Twitter, YouTubes, and their origin ID. None of them have specifically given me anything else to add just yet. So it should be at least those 3 things. But just to mention who all, this is their Twitter names, so I don't have their, most of them, their YouTube names are about the same. There's Smurfette Sims, which she is someone who's actually commented on my flower series videos quite often. There's Simmer in YouTube, it's at lizsims13. And then there's the ChaosSimmer at ChaosSimmer, which she was actually a part of the other build and asked if she could still be a part of this one, even though she was in the last one, and I don't mind that. So I really loved her room, but also I don't mind working with the same people over and over again. And I do plan on trying to come up with different ideas that involve multiple simmers. I like these big giant collabs. I like seeing not just 2, I like collabs in general, but usually collabs are only like 2 people, 3, maybe 3. But I like seeing some of these bigger size collabs and seeing so many people come together and seeing the end result and seeing what has come of it. So that's sort of what I want to keep trying to do as like a little thing. Maybe try to do one every month or every other month. I don't know if that every month thing is doable because you have to work around everyone else's times, schedules and things like that as well. And I don't ever want to try to push people unless I really need them to. So I don't want to be that way. So but I can try to shoot for every other month. I already sort of have another idea for maybe a bigger collab in mind. I won't go into details about that. I will let that one sit around until maybe in July, but anyway. Back to the people. Then there is SweetheartSim at SweetheartSims is her Twitter thing, and then there's Blossomi, which is at Blossomi6. Then there's Michelle, which is at STSKNS. And then TealyBanana, which is at TealyBanana. So that is the members who are going to be taking a part in this build. So to get more in details of their parts, they do all have, of course, a room to build. It's going to be like a living quarters type room. They're going to be able to put bathrooms, multiple bedrooms, do inside the actual shell of the build of theirs. All they can do whatever they want. They can add walls, add multiple walls, do whatever, change flooring and stuff. I didn't even put flooring and stuff in this time because I'm just going to take a screenshot of the top down and just put their names instead of doing the floor colorings this time around. But so that's basically theirs, and like I said, they have the Sims as a base to go off of what they think this Sims apartment might look like. So they're basically designing the Sim, like the Sim has come to them and be like, this is my interest, this is things I like, this is things I don't like, make me an apartment. It's almost like a situation like that. So, and like I said, I am going to be gone on vacation, but I wanted to get all this out so they can be building while I was away. And I'm hoping that most of the building will be done by the time I get back so that I can soon work on putting it all together for you all and also for them to see the end result by the time that I get back, and I could start working on that when I get back home and actually can work on things as well. I was worried that I was gonna be like in a time constraint to get this video up and out, and I am sort of pushing it, but at the same time I am proud with the build itself. I did go into this build at one point when I wasn't physically sitting in front of the Sims. I sort of came up with a plan or a layout in my head, and then by the time I actually got time to sit down and actually build this particular build, I had completely forgot all plans that I had. So once I got down in front of the Sims, I just sort of started building. I actually cut quite a bit out of it, especially the interior build, like the interior shells of the rooms. I changed those so often, trying to figure out exactly how I wanted it. exactly how many rooms. I know I at least wanted 2 rooms to be the same size, and these rooms are actually quite a bit bigger than my previous apartment build rooms. And I also didn't realize how much bigger I'd made them, because I did want some of them to be a little bit smaller in size, just because I wanted to see how some would do, and if it was the one sim, it would be easier versus if they end up having 3 sims, things like that. Um, some people are more challenged by small spaces, while some are more challenged by big spaces, but also a lot of apartments aren't really that big, so my intentions wasn't originally to make them as big as I did the rooms. I mean, granted, once you start putting bathrooms in there, and if you got a bigger group of sims, like bedrooms for them all and such, it might not be as big of a space. But I did make it a little bit bigger than I intended to, but by the time I realized that I'd made the rooms bigger than some of the rooms bigger than I originally wanted, I'd already gotten most of the build done, and I'd already changed the rooms 10 million times, that I was like, nah, I'm not doing it again. And especially since I was on more of a time constraint to get all the build done and actually get it to these lovely members of the simming community, I was like, I don't need to take any longer on this build. I need to make sure that it's done and ready to go. So I was like, you know what, it's just, these are nice apartments. They have a pool. The 2 rooms in the front are actually, one is like a community study room, and the other one's a community washer dryer area, is what I end up turning it into. So, you know, it's a pretty nice apartment place. So, and I've seen some of the sims that they've come up with, and, you know, from what I'm seeing, I think there's could be some cute rooms and cute areas to come out of this, and I definitely feel like these people would be very happy to be in this apartment building. But I did mainly stick with blue, like shades of blue, as like a color scheme for this whole entire build. Of course, there's other colors in it. There's no way that you can't have like some other colors like whites and creams and tans and blacks. Those especially, those are really common. So it's really hard to actually avoid not using those colors every once in a while. Though I did try to stay more on the lighter side of things because I thought the blue looked better with that versus the dark. But I did try to stay with hints of blues in the main theme. The pool area basically has also an eating area and then like a little bar area over here, which I am currently playing with the chairs, trying to figure out. I kept going back to the chairs and I was like, I don't know. And I think, yeah, I just went back to the originals because I was like, yeah, because I thought that corner of the pool didn't have like a lot of blue compared to some of the other areas. So that's the reason why I was originally trying to change the chairs. I think I add like I add some like plants and things like that have hints of blues to try to keep the blue going throughout. The pool area, that corner is a little bit less blue than some of the rest, but at the same time I still try to get some blue over that way. And even inside I do try to keep with the blue shades, darks and light blues. Mainly the light blues is what I was mainly going for, but you can't always get the light blues and everything. But here I'm just doing like the hallways, I'm putting the lights. I think I go upstairs and no, I do the lights later maybe. I don't remember. So this downstairs only has 3 apartments, buildings, like rooms in it. There's these 2 that you can see right now, and then that door over there leads to another one that's sort of the offset apartment, because this building is sort of strange. I imagine that maybe this building originally wasn't intended as apartment building. Maybe it was originally intended as something else and they redid it to make it as an apartment building. But this is sort of the entryway. This is the main area where everyone will walk through, everyone will go through. And I was struggling with this wood flooring, trying to figure out dark or light wood floorings, what type of wood. I wanted wood. I was 100% sure on that. But then I was looking at this one because like it looked nice, but it also looked a little bit more wore out. But I went back to I think it's the cats and dogs one. But yeah, I was literally just flopping all over the place with that flooring. Not as bad as I was with the shape of the rooms though. Not as bad as that. Hence why I cut a lot of that out. because this video would have been a lot longer even with me having it sped up. So I did decide to keep that out. But for the most part in this grand hallway thing, I don't do much. I added some chairs eventually, decorations, stuff like that. I think I started on the decorations in here and then somehow got pulled over into the laundry room and then the study, and then I came back to the hallway. And also those little wood decorations, I absolutely love them. I've started putting them in almost every build. But anyway, back to what's currently going on. This part of where the doorway is, I try to make it sort of seem like the community constantly posted things here. This is where some things are kept. I put some lockers, so this may be like where certain things are locked up, or maybe where, you know, some mail. My intention was there's usually like mailboxes in front, even though the bottom lockers are technically really big, but hey, maybe people have multiple lockers, or if they get big packages, they go in the bottom one. I was just trying to get as close to it as possible, basically. But yeah, now I'm in the laundry dryer area. And I never really tried, but I noticed that the dryer and laundry stack on top of each other, but then a dryer and a washer and washer don't stack on top of each other. But I was sort of trying to go off a slightly laundromat theme with this room, since it was going to be like a community place to go wash and dry your clothes. If you so choose to do so, I'm gonna let them know that if they want to still put a washer and dryer in their Sims apartment, they can, but there is this room here, so they don't have to necessarily worry about that. I'm gonna let them know that when I send all the details over and let them know the build is up. But it is an option there. But a lot of times, like the wash machines, I've seen wash machines sometimes stacked on top of each other, but they're almost never stacked on top of each other. But in a laundromat, the dryers almost always are. At least the ones I've been in, they've almost always been stacked on top of each other. There's usually at least 2 dryers on top of each other as a thing against the wall. So I use just the little Control-9 thing to get it up on top of the other dryer. Hopefully there's not too many fire risk in this building because of all the dryers. My Sims particularly really like catching themselves on fire with the dryer. Like, they never think to clean the lint tray, and I feel like I clean that lint tray and it's dirty within 1 or 2, like, goes. So, maybe my Sims are just putting clothes in the dryer way more often than I'm paying attention to. Because usually I don't pay attention to where I put the laundry, like the washer and dryers at. I don't look at that area too often. It's there because it adds an element of realism, and sometimes it's sort of funny that a random fire just pops out, but at the same time, I don't pay attention to it. So maybe my Sims are just constantly drying stuff and I'm just not certain of it. So that's why the dryer's lint tray is clogging up faster than it should be. Anyway, basically I'm just adding the finishing touches to try to make it seem more like it's actually used by some people. There's baskets, there's a bunch of laundry detergent, towels, someone's clothes that they've left behind on accident, and so on and so forth. Now this is sort of like the community study area. You can go read some books, work on a computer if it's like a family that could not get computers in their residence or whatever, or either maybe there's multiple Sims and only one computer, so the Sim who did not get access to the computer can run down to this area and use the computer if they so need to. So that is basically what this area is for. I just thought that since I ended up making the rooms so big and the way the pool was and stuff like that, I was like, well, let me try to get it somewhat of a nice touch. Let it be somewhat of a luxury for these Sims to be in this place. So that was basically what I was doing. I was trying to add blue in here as well, but obviously you can tell that I did not be able to do it. But I put plants in between all these desks just to give it like a centerpiece, but also maybe some division in between if there's a bunch of people sitting on those computers. Like all 4 computers are obtained, so you're not constantly staring at one another. There's a tree blocking you. But my little hint of blue was actually part of the decorations. I love that decoration and the flowers with the glass vase and the different color, like, little flower things you can get. That in this picture, and then also the door, was my hints of blue. I think I meant to originally add a rug, but I don't think I do. Also, that chess table is the most used chess table in my builds and in my sim world in general. I use that chess set so often. Like, a lot of my sims need the chess sets because they need logic skills, and that's one of the easiest ways to get the logic skill up, at least in my opinion. So, I a lot of times have a chess set at my Sims house, and almost all of them, not particularly for surely all of them, but a big majority of them have that chess set. It may be different colors, but they have it. But as you can see, I finally did come back to the hallway. This just shows how easily distracted I can get sometimes, and this is truly just my life. I could literally be doing something and then think about something else or see something else or whatever it may be and be like, oh, well, hey, and then wander off and do something else. Some things it's more evident in than others. I actually had to cut. You can't tell because when I stop building at certain points, my mouse stays almost in the exact same spot. When I do stuff like lose attention span while I'm building, so with it being sped up and with me cutting those parts out and me cutting where the mouse doesn't move too much, it just doesn't seem like I've just constantly build. But usually builds like, even like this where I'm not doing all the rooms, usually have 3 parts to them minimum, because I have to do them either I do one part in the morning and one in the evening and then one the next day or 3 different days, so on and so forth. So, and a lot of times when I'm editing these, I can look back and remember what caused me to get distracted. In this particular episode, I'm rewatching the anime show that used to be on Adult Swim called Inuyasha, and I was watching that as I was, like, watching it in the background as I was doing this build. So I was constantly, you could, like, when I was editing it, I was like, I got distracted. Must have been something, like a good scene. Like, I constantly stopped more often than you probably realize. There were a few parts that I've noticed that I hadn't cut out, but they were very, very short, so it's not that big of a deal. But now I'm upstairs, obviously, rambling on about the fact that I get distracted easy. But, so now I'm upstairs. I just sort of did, like, a little seating area up here, just to give it this big square something, and I would imagine that maybe the people upstairs maybe are a little bit closer to each other or something. I don't know. I just decided to do seating areas, and I add these mats in front of all the doors, but I'm going to let everyone who's a part of this build know that they can actually, I use the same mat every place, but I'm going to let them know that if they want to change those mats to fit the inside of the apartment, they can, because a lot of apartment places I've been to, whether it's like a mostly indoor apartment or ones where all the doors are connected to like outside hallways. Particularly one of the areas that I've been to a lot of the college apartments, a lot of them actually have outdoor like hallways, or like, you know, it's like an open hallway to the outside. But a lot of these places all have doormats, but their doormats are different depending on who lives there. So I did put doormats on the outside of them, but I'm going to let them know that they can change those. That's probably just like the apartment building's standard for builds, but they can change them. But anyway, it's coming to the end of the video. I'm going to have a few like outside shots here and there, maybe of the laundry and study room. But I hope you've liked this build so far. If so, please hit that lovely like button and subscribe to see future episodes of other builds or whatever I may do. Also to see what comes of this big collab and this build when it comes all together. And I hope you're looking forward to that a lot. Make sure to share the video so that others may enjoy it as well. And don't forget to go check out everyone else who is participating in this build. They are some amazing simmers in the community. Most of them are YouTubers as well. ChaosSimmer particularly is not a YouTuber yet. She's wanting to do it, but she's not at the point that she is yet. But I definitely suggest go supporting them and checking out their content of what they do have and what they do post. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next one. Bye bye!